Imagine yourself standing in the middle of St. Peter's Square, the heart of Catholicism, surrounded by 100,000 people, all eyes fixed on a small balcony. The air is electric, not just because there's a new pope, but because something greater is happening. On May 11, 2025, Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope, delivers his Sunday blessing. His words are sharp: "Never again war," a cry that cuts through a world fractured by conflict. Can this 69-year-old man, once a missionary in Chicago, shift the fate of wars in Ukraine and Gaza? Today we explore the peace message of Leo XIV, a message that stirs hearts, challenges power, and asks, can the Vatican end war? Picture this: the bells of St. Peter's ring out, the crowd sways with a mix of hymns and YMCA. Pope Leo steps forward, dressed in simple white, a silver cross glinting. He doesn't show off. He speaks the truth. Quoting Pope Francis, he calls today's conflicts a piecemeal World War III, thunderous words reminding us that Ukraine and Gaza are global fault lines. He calls for just peace in Ukraine, a ceasefire in Gaza, the release of hostages, and aid to civilians. The man delivering these words makes the moment unforgettable. Pope Leo, born Robert Francis Prevost, was a missionary in Peru, serving the poor. An Augustinian friar, he believes love and truth light the way. "I carry the pain of the Ukrainian people," he says, voice heavy, pleading for the release of prisoners and the return of children taken by Russia. He mentions Gaza, where 52,000 have died, and children are starving. "I am in anguish," he says, begging for an end to war and for humanitarian aid to reach the people. He speaks directly to world leaders, reminding them that 80 years after World War II killed 60 million, we may be repeating our mistakes. "Never again war" is a warning grounded in faith. He ends by singing the Regina Caeli, offering it to Mary. The crowd erupts. Why do his words resonate so deeply? Because he names the children, the hostages. He doesn't turn away. But can words stop tanks? That question leads us to the next moment, when Pope Leo picks up the phone and does the unexpected. What happens when the Pope calls a wartime president? Let's find out. The scene shifts from St. Peter's Square to a quiet room inside the Vatican. On May 12, 2025, Pope Leo XIV calls President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, a nation torn by war. This isn't a courtesy call. It's a moment that grabs the world's attention. After calling for peace, Pope Leo acts, offering the Vatican as a mediator in the Ukraine conflict. What was said? Why did this moment feel like a spark of hope? Let's uncover the second piece of Leo's peace mission, showing he's becoming a global figure. Picture Zelensky, after 3 years of war with Russia, hearing the voice of an American pope. On X, formerly Twitter, Zelensky calls the call very meaningful, thanking Pope Leo for urging all efforts toward peace. Pope Leo pushes for prisoner releases, the return of children, and fair peace talks. Zelensky invites him to visit Ukraine, hinting at a meeting during the May 18th inauguration Mass. This is high-stakes diplomacy. Pope Leo also brings up Gaza, calling for a ceasefire, and welcomes the India-Pakistan ceasefire, showing a global outlook. He recalls how the Vatican mediated between Argentina and Chile in 1978. But for Leo, peace is a moral obligation. War is not inevitable, he says on May 14th to leaders of the Ukrainian and Syrian Catholic churches. Zelensky backs him publicly on X, saying the Vatican can aid diplomacy, raising the question, can Pope Leo create a breakthrough? The call sends a message to Moscow, Washington, and Jerusalem. The Church is ready to mediate. Pope Leo knows the Vatican has no army, but it holds moral authority. On May 13th, he meets 6,000 journalists, urging weaponless communication, using words to build peace. A subtle yet powerful move, recognizing that media shapes wars. Why is this former missionary from Peru leading the way? perhaps because he understands the magnitude of war suffering. An Augustinian friar, he believes, truth leads. But is a phone call enough? A larger event, a meeting with Zelensky, and a symbolic gift, is about to unfold. What is it? Let's continue. The story arrives at May 18, 2025. Once again, St. Peter's Square is overflowing. But this time, it's not just for a speech or a blessing. It's the inauguration mass of Pope Leo XIV. A sea of 150,000 people floods the square. Dignitaries, pilgrims, and world leaders have gathered. Among them, President Volodymyr Zelensky and First Lady Olena Zelenska of Ukraine. The ceremony is grand, but it's what happens after the Mass that leaves a deeper mark. Pope Leo kneels before a statue of the Virgin Mary. His voice trembles as he offers a personal plea. I entrust this cry to you. Ask the Lord for a miracle of peace. He names Ukraine, Gaza, and Myanmar. His words are not lofty theology. They are raw, human, urgent. As he speaks, Zelensky joins in silent prayer, standing nearby. The crowd falls quiet. Then, unexpectedly, a wave of applause breaks the silence. It's not for show, it's for something real, hope. After the ceremony, a private meeting takes place between the Pope and the Ukrainian president. Zelensky presents a gift unlike any other, a small painting of the Virgin Mary and the Christ child, carefully painted on the rusted metal of a spent artillery shell from Izium, Kharkiv. The artwork is fragile, poignant, and heavy with meaning. It speaks of war, faith, and the thin thread of hope that refuses to snap. Pope Leo holds the object for a long moment. He doesn't speak immediately. His eyes well up, not with political calculation, but with shared sorrow. This is not only art, he finally says. It is a wound turned into a prayer. The prayer and the gift form a declaration, one deeper than policy, stronger than protocol. They declare that peace is not just about treaties or summits. True peace begins in the human heart, and that heart must confront the greed, fear, and hatred that fuel war. It must heal. This act of prayer and offering links everything Pope Leo has done over the past week. His thunderous call in St. Peter's Square, his phone call to President Zelensky, his outreach to global media, urging weaponless communication, and his support of the India-Pakistan ceasefire. He's weaving together diplomacy, prayer, and moral clarity into something Vatican leaders haven't done in decades, a peace movement rooted in both faith and global relevance. And the world is watching. News outlets across continents replay the images, the kneeling pope, the silent crowd, the shell painting that says more than words can. On social media, people ask, could this be a turning point? Of course, the challenges remain. Pope Leo has offered the Vatican as a mediator. President Zelensky supports the idea, but from Moscow and Jerusalem, there's been no formal response. No ceasefire yet, no summit scheduled. Some call Leo naive, others dangerously idealistic. But Leo is not unaware of the stakes. He knows the Vatican holds no army, yet he believes in something else: moral power. As an Augustinian friar, Leo has always believed in the transforming grace of truth. In the slums of Peru, he saw what injustice looks like up close. In war zones, he now sees it magnified. But he also sees that even in ruins, faith can rebuild. He's not claiming to have the answer. Instead, he's planting a seed, one that says, peace is still possible, not through dominance, but through courage, memory, and prayer. Back in the square, a group of children from Gaza and Ukraine release doves. The birds rise into the air, wings cutting through the Roman sky. Below, the crowd watches in silence. Will this moment change history? That's still unknown. But from never again war to a heartfelt prayer, to a gift forged from a battlefield shell, Pope Leo XIV is doing more than speaking. He's embodying the belief that peace, though fragile, is worth everything. Can it end war? That remains a question for all of us. Is peace near? What do you think? comment below. Share your hopes. And until then, amen. And may God bless us all.